My name is Sandy, I'm 26, and I'm a homemaker. I'm a newlywed. I really regret getting married now. The bullying from my mother-in-law, Patricia, who is 55, and my husband, Michael, who is 30, is unbearable. I thought they were both so nice before we got married and that we could live happily ever after. That's why when Patricia asked me to move in with them after my father-in-law passed away a few years ago, I gladly agreed. But as soon as we got married, they changed dramatically. Moreover, I discovered that my husband's brother, who was a recluse, lived with them, which they hadn't told me about. The morning after our wedding, I was shocked to find an unfamiliar man drinking tea in the kitchen. That's when I first met Michael's younger brother, Jonathan, 27. Jonathan, while sipping his coffee, helped me stand up because my legs buckled in surprise. Then, he introduced himself, saying, "I'm Jonathan, 27 years old, a recluse disliked by my mother and brother." His gentle manner of speaking made him seem like a good person, so I was reassured. Just as we started to chat, my mother-in-law woke up and came in. "Jonathan, stay in your room until you're ready to leave. I'll bring your food later," she told him, shooing him away with her hand. I suggested, "Mother-in-law, why don't we have breakfast together with Jonathan?" But she barked back at me. "Mind your own business. How dare you, just a daughter-in-law, giving me orders." I was shocked to see a completely different side of my mother-in-law who had been so kind to me until yesterday. Her face, attitude, manner of speaking, she had always called me Sandy with a smile, but now she was calling me you with a demon-like look. Jonathan told me, "Sister-in-law, this is my mother's true colors. She and my brother's been deceiving you by pretending to be nice. I recommend that you escape while you can." His words left me bewildered. "Quiet! I won't let our free housemaid escape that easily. We're taking in an orphan with no parents for free, so be grateful." After hearing this, I wanted to run away as Jonathan suggested, but I decided to stay and talk to my husband, whom I married out of love. Then, my husband woke up, looking sleepy. "What's all this noise so early in the morning? Can't you let me sleep?" He glared at me with a face I'd never seen before, looking so grumpy. In that moment, I realized that what Jonathan had said about my husband deceiving me was true. As I stepped back in fear, my husband changed his expression and said, "Just kidding. Mom, get along with my wife." Then he pulled me into his embrace. I was surprised to hear my husband call his mother Mom, but I was relieved to think that he was back to his usual self and quickly forgot about his previous angry gaze. Feeling more reassured, I thought, maybe he looked so grumpy because he had just woken up. I said, "I'll make breakfast," and prepared breakfast for 4 of us and put it on the table. But my husband said, "Take Jonathan's portion to his room. Sorry for not telling you, but I have a brother who's like a piece of junk, shut in. I was too embarrassed to tell you." Mother-in-law chimed in. "He locks himself in his room all the time and barely goes out. He's nothing like Michael. You wouldn't think they're brothers." All they did was badmouth Jonathan. I took breakfast to Jonathan's room and knocked on his door. He thanked me but tried to close the door, saying, "Don't worry about me. I'll go out to eat." Feeling sorry for him, I blurted out, "Eating out all the time isn't healthy. Now that I'm part of this family, I'll take care of everyone's health." He only repeated, "You should get out of here. I'm scared of being alone after my parents passed away." I felt a tightness in my chest and tears welled up. I was taken back to when my parents died. I was diagnosed with PTSD and am still receiving treatment. I might be projecting my situation onto Jonathan's. "I'll bring some more food later." I informed Jonathan and returned to the living room. Then my husband asked, "Can you finish up the housework and come to the convenience store at noon?" I responded with, "All right," and agreed. After seeing off my husband to the convenience store where he works, the bullying from my mother-in-law started as soon as I began the housework. Wash the dishes, clean up, and finish weeding the garden all by this morning, she instructed as she started drinking tea in the living room. I replied and started cleaning the dishes, and before cleaning each room, I peeked into the garden to see how many weeds there were. To my surprise, the garden appeared as though it hadn't been weeded for years. It seemed like lots of bugs might come out, and I shuddered at the thought. Looking up at the sky, I saw cloudy weather with dark rain clouds, so I decided to hurry up with the cleaning. After cleaning the living room and dining room, finished cleaning all the rooms except for Jonathan's room on the second floor, I heard a loud noise from the first floor, so I hurried over. There, the entire kitchen floor was drenched in salad oil. "Clean up the spilled oil," she said, and it was clear that she had removed the cap from the salad oil and spread it around. The bottle was empty, and it was spread over a wide area. "Why would you do something like this?" I confronted my mother-in-law. "What? You think I did this on purpose? How terrifying, you're an awful daughter-in-law. It's your fault for leaving things where I walk. Instead of talking, get to cleaning," she yelled, throwing a roll of paper towels at me. Remembering that I had to go to the convenience store my husband runs after cleaning the garden, I hurriedly cleaned the kitchen floor. While kneeling and soaking up the oil with the paper towels, my mother-in-law bumped into me, and I ended up diving onto the oily floor. "Move when I'm coming. You're in the way." Unbelievable. I was left with regrets of moving in just 2 days after our wedding. But I didn't have time to dwell on it. It took quite a while to clean the floor. After that, during the garden cleanup, I was bitten by mosquitoes dozens of times as I desperately pulled weeds and bagged them up, finishing the task completely drained. Thankfully, the garden wasn't large. I didn't have much time until noon, but I couldn't go out with my body dirty from the oil and sweat, so I quickly took a shower. I thought I had prepared my underwear and clothes before entering the bathroom, but when I came out, everything was gone. I guess that's my mother-in-law's doing again. I was frustrated, but I didn't have time to argue, so after drying my body, I thought I would go to the bedroom wrapped in a bath towel, but even the bath towel was gone. I couldn't put on the clothes I had been wearing because they would dirty my body again. I wiped my body with the face towel I had used in the bath, covered my body with it, and hurried to the bedroom on the second floor. My mother-in-law was recording a video, laughing hysterically, and I thought, I can't live with this woman anymore, as I climbed the stairs, where I found a bath towel midway. I quickly wrapped it around myself and went to the bedroom. I was so frustrated that I felt like crying, but I held back, thinking that it would make my mother-in-law happy. As I hastily changed clothes and left the bedroom, I saw Jonathan. "Listen, sis-in-law, you really need to get out of this house ASAP. That lady lives for this kind of stuff," he said, and handed me a piece of paper with his WhatsApp QR code on it. "I know you're in a rush, but if anything happens, hit me up here." And then he went back into his room. I pocketed the paper and headed to my mother-in-law's room to tell her I was going to my husband's convenience store. She didn't respond, just kept watching and laughing at a video on her smartphone. I think she might be watching the video of me from earlier, which nearly brought me to tears again, but I ran off to see my husband. Once at the convenience store, my husband told me to go into the office. He half smiled as he handed me the store uniform. "Sandy, I gotta say you looked super sexy climbing up the stairs naked. Next time, make sure you've got your towel and clothes ready before hitting the shower, it's embarrassing," he said. I had them with me. Your mom must have hidden them. Didn't you see the towel halfway up the stairs? I had no time to look for my clothes and underwear, I replied, my composure slipping as I started crying. My husband started recording me with his phone. If my mom is giving you a hard time, and you don't cry and get all frustrated, I'll send her this video. You'd better satisfy her to the end. It's such a burden that you're making me record this and send it to Mom, he said as he rushed me to get dressed in the store uniform. So I just did what I was told and slipped into the uniform. I was devastated by my husband's words, tears streaming down my face as he led me into the store. He introduced me to a woman working there and told her to show me the ropes before he left the store. She was a kind, middle-aged lady named Mrs. Sophia working at my husband's convenience store. With my eyes swollen from crying, she gently told me, "The boss probably won't be back for a while. Why don't you take a break in the office?" But I thought if he's watching through security cameras, he and his mother would tag team scold me if I rested, so I asked her to teach me the work instead. Mrs. Sophia was so kind and patient as she showed me what to do. We restocked shelves and she showed me how to remember where things went, how to place orders, and work the register. "Let's start by getting restocking down pat," she said with a smile, and we quickly became good friends. My husband came back to the store around 5 p.m. "You can go home now. Do some shopping on your way back and start on dinner," he said and began working in the store. Mrs. Sophia was also off at 5 p.m., so we prepared to leave together. As we were leaving, a college student-looking guy came into the office and started changing into a uniform. We said goodbye and left. As we were leaving, Mrs. Sophia said, "If you need anything, give me a call." So we exchanged numbers. As I thanked her through my tears, "Thank you for being so kind," she replied, "I knew something was up, poor thing," and gave me a hug. We stood like that for a moment, but I had to rush home to shop and cook before I could imagine what my mother-in-law might do next. Once I got home, I was swamped, from preparing the bath to cooking dinner. My mother-in-law exclaimed, You didn't take the bag full of garden waste to the dumpster, did you? Hurry up and take it." Thinking about having to carry those 5 heavy bags by myself made me feel dizzy. However, I didn't know what she'd do if I didn't go, so I followed her instructions. It only takes about 2 minutes to reach the dumpster, but the bags were so heavy that I had to rest multiple times and carried them one at a time. Then I ran into Jonathan, who was outside. Jonathan said, "It's her again," and helped me carry the bags to the dump. "You better get going soon or you'll collapse, you know? You don't have to stay silent like me." While saying this, he helped me carry all the bags to the dumpster. I wanted to thank him and invite him into the house, but Jonathan said, "If we go in together, it will give away that I helped with the trash. So, you go in first." So, I went in the house alone. After a little while, my husband came back with Jonathan. Jonathan went straight to his room, and my husband headed to the living room. "Sandy, from today you'll be working at the convenience store in the daytime and night. The night shift starts from 8 p.m., so you'll have to leave soon," he said. I replied, "I'm already exhausted from today. Plus, I'm scared of the night and I haven't learned the job yet, so it's impossible." His face turned devilish at my response. "Don't you dare defy me when I'm getting you a job." He intimidated me by pounding the wall. Even my mother-in-law chimed in. "We don't need 2 pieces of junk in our house. You're a wife, so work for the house," she shouted at me. I hated to leave Jonathan alone, but as he said, I thought I'd collapse if things stayed as they are, so I decided to leave the house. That's when my husband pulled out the divorce papers from his bag and handed them to me. If you can't work, there's no point in being married. Feel free to leave if there's anywhere for an orphan with no money to go. My mother-in-law and husband watched me with smug smiles. At that moment, I decided, I will never forgive these people. I realized I needed to distance myself from these two for now, so I decided to head to the convenience store. The night shift at the convenience store was quiet with no customers, which was really a blessing. I registered Sophia and Jonathan on my WhatsApp account. I exchanged messages with the two of them. I was able to receive information from them that I hadn't known before. The information I received from Jonathan was that my husband had previously decided to marry a woman, brought her home, and did the same things he's doing to me now, causing her to flee before the marriage was finalized. That's why he had been acting all sweet until he married me. Furthermore, the next act of harassment against me was apparently to hide the engagement ring my husband gave me and blame me for losing it. According to Jonathan, my mother-in-law and husband were gleefully planning this in the living room right now. It seems that Jonathan has 2 cell phones and he leaves one in the living room in call mode. He's now busy recording the talk while chatting on WhatsApp. He sent me a message with a laughing emoticon. I had heard from Sophia that her husband had some sort of relationship with an older woman working at the convenience store. The woman was married, so supposedly, he went to her house during the day when her husband wasn't around. Because of this, Sophia, who's being made to work even as a store manager, was upset, or so the story went. I couldn't believe what I was reading and read the message over and over again. I didn't know what to do on my own, so I asked them if we could form a group and share information, and both of them were more than willing, so we set up a group chat on WhatsApp. In the group chat, I told them that my husband gave me the divorce papers when I decided to leave the house. Jonathan was glad and said, "I'm glad you finally decided to leave." But I said, "Jonathan, you're leaving with me too." Then, in the group chat, I revealed something I hadn't told my mother-in-law or my husband. After I revealed it, I told them I planned to take revenge on my mother-in-law and husband, and Sophia and Jonathan both said they wanted to help. Sophia said, with difficulty, "Actually," and told me she had a recording on a voice recorder that could serve as evidence of my husband's affair with the woman, and also a picture of the two of them entering the woman's house. And apparently, she also had a recording of what my husband said at the office today. "Mom was frustrated because you wouldn't cry no matter how much she bullied you," and him filming me crying and sending it to my mother-in-law. Then Jonathan asked Sophia to trust him with all the information, and Sophia agreed. "That's the proof of your cheating husband and bullying mother-in-law, isn't it?" Jonathan was tasked with compiling the information, Sophia with gathering further evidence of my husband's infidelity, and I decided to engage a lawyer and look for new homes for both Jonathan and myself. When Sophia wondered aloud, "Isn't it bad that I'm recording?" Jonathan replied, "You just happened to bring a voice recorder that was in record mode, right?" Sophia seemed to be laughing as she said, "That's right. It was just by chance. I never thought I'd make such wonderful friends in such a short period of time. It felt like my parents were guiding me, that they were certainly by my side, protecting me. Since we must keep the group's existence a secret, I decided to lock my phone. After a while, my husband told me, "The relief guy is coming at 1, so you can come home." So I went back to the house where my husband and mother-in-law were. They were both already asleep, so I messaged Jonathan to hurry up with the moving preparations. Jonathan had messaged me, "Get that divorce paper filled out soon and have a good sleep." The next day was the same routine of housework, working at the convenience store, returning home for more housework, and again the convenience store. But before heading to the evening shift, as expected, my mother-in-law said, "Show me the engagement ring you received from Michael." I retorted, "It's not here since you hid it, mother-in-law," and headed off to the convenience store. Jonathan showed up at the convenience store when my husband wasn't around and received a voice recorder from Sophia. Jonathan quickly gathered and summarized information for me. Sophia had made a comment to my husband's mistress husband when he visited the store. "You know, our owner and your wife are very close. The owner is mysteriously absent when your wife is off." Apparently, she dropped this hint so blatantly that it would surely make the husband suspicious. The husband seemed to be heading back to the office from an outside appointment, but we guessed that he might have gone home instead. Sophia shared this in our group chat. Armed with the information Jonathan had compiled, I went to consult with a lawyer I know. The lawyer assured me, "This should be enough," and gave his approval. Then, the location for Jonathan's and my move was decided. Finally, the curtain was raised on my revenge. I had endured my mother-in-law and husband's daily bullying for this moment. For the preparation, I pretended to grovel before my mother-in-law and husband on my husband's day off. I said, "Mother-in-law, I'm sorry for causing you so much trouble due to my incompetence. This is not a peace offering, but I would like to gift Michael and you a one-night stay at a hot spring resort." Mother-in-law responded, "Finally, you've given in. That's right, keep spending your time and money like this." And she accepted the voucher. "When is it? Tomorrow? Isn't that a bit sudden?" she asked. I said apologetically to mother-in-law, "I'm broke and couldn't afford anything but this discounted deal." My husband then said, "Mom, I can leave work to Sandy tomorrow, so we can go. This is a gift from a poor orphan, so if we decline, we may not get this chance again. Just work without complaining and I'll let you stay here." He was all set to go. Mother-in-law also said, "Don't think this will stop the bullying. It's my pleasure. But if you give me gifts like this, I might ease up a little." And so, in high spirits, the two of them set off early in the morning. They didn't even know that the accommodation voucher I gave them was a discount voucher. Once they had left, as planned, the movers came. They loaded mine and Jonathan's belongings into a truck and we moved to our new location. Our new home was a large house, one of the properties left to me by my parents. The secret that I hadn't told my mother-in-law or husband was that I had a large inheritance from both my parents and my paternal grandfather. The other properties, like apartments, were managed by a company I had established. I had entrusted the management to a cousin I trust. I am the owner of that company. I also inherited other significant assets, such as insurance money. I decided to live with Jonathan in the large house where my grandfather lived, which had remained vacant because I didn't want to rent it out to anyone. I figured this would be a spot where my mother-in-law and husband wouldn't find me. The day after I moved, I received an angry phone call from my mother-in-law. "You! This is not a discount voucher. I'll get back to you. Michael is very upset too. I will not forgive you. Get a divorce and leave. You trash, leave. Don't show your face again. Take the trash Jonathan with you too," she said, quite furious. "Okay, got it. I've already submitted the divorce papers," I responded, which led her to hand the phone over to my husband. "Marrying a worthless person like you was a mistake. Get lost, orphan," he spat before hanging up. Jonathan and I ended up laughing heartily and celebrated. Sophia had already submitted her resignation to the convenience store's headquarters and had decided to work full-time at my cousin's company. Sophia, a single mother, was happy to have a stable income. Soon, she was going to bring her child here to celebrate together. Jonathan seemed to have a hard time moving. He's been holed up working until Sophia arrives. Jonathan was an investor, making money from his online lectures. In fact, it seems he's making a significant amount of money every month. After a while, Sophia and her child came, and we had a party and deepened our friendship. The next day, I received another call from my mother-in-law who had returned from her trip. "Did you move? Is Jonathan with you too?" she asked, to which I played dumb. "I've moved out already." "Oh, Jonathan moved out too?" I inquired. "It seems so. It's fantastic that 2 pieces of trash disappeared at once," was my mother-in-law's bitter response. Later, my lawyer contacted me. "Michael and your mother-in-law have accepted the content of the notification. They seem willing to pay as requested to avoid a lawsuit." Afterward, that amount was transferred to my account. Just when I was getting used to living with Jonathan in our odd arrangement, my ex-mother-in-law, in a state of panic, began spamming my phone with calls. Looking at my call history showing 50 missed calls per second, I received another call from my ex-mother-in-law. "Do you know where Jonathan is? If you know, tell me," she demanded, to which I simply replied, "I don't know," and tried to end the call. "Wait! How much money do you have in savings?" she asked next. "Why do I have to tell a stranger about my savings?" "Goodbye," I said and hung up. But then, I received another call from my ex-mother-in-law. "Why did you hang up? Return the money I gave you." It seemed she was talking about the consolation money she and my ex-husband had paid me. I was about to hang up the phone again, saying, "I don't need to repay the money because it's the money I don't have to return," when she exclaimed, "Wait! Hear me out before you decide. I'm really in a tough spot," and started telling me why she needed the money. Apparently, my ex-husband was being sued for alimony by the husband of the woman he cheated with. Thanks to Sophia, the husband of the woman he cheated with was able to gather evidence quickly by hiring a private investigator. Moreover, once the convenience store head office found out about the relationship between the employee and my ex-husband, they terminated their contract with him. On top of a substantial penalty, he is being sued for damaging the reputation of the convenience store, and the amount he owes is beyond his means. Around that time, I happened to hear from a friend of Jonathan's that Jonathan makes more money than my ex-husband, so my ex-mother-in-law's been looking for Jonathan. Moreover, if she could get back the alimony she paid to me, everything would go well, she said. "Find Jonathan. Don't you know how to contact Jonathan? And when will you repay the money?" "The sooner the better," she said, so I responded, "$50,000 isn't a big deal. Please stop making a fuss about petty cash, it's embarrassing. I have money and property left to me by my parents, so I'm not in financial trouble. However, I'm not so generous as to give money to complete strangers, so please look elsewhere." She yelled, You're going to abandon your husband and me, your mother-in-law? You're heartless. Pay me back." I retorted, "What you've done to me since the first day after our marriage is far worse. If you call again, I'll contact the police and a lawyer. Don't forget that we are nothing but a stranger." After hanging up the phone, I never received a call from my ex-mother-in-law again, but I started receiving love letters from my ex-husband begging for reconciliation, which I ignored just like I did with my ex-mother-in-law. As for my ex-husband, even after selling his house, he didn't have enough money, and since everyone knew he had taken advantage of an employee, he couldn't get a job in the same industry, so he seems to be working as a traffic control person on road construction sites. My ex-mother-in-law reportedly started working part-time at a supermarket, but because of her personality, she doesn't have anyone to talk to and is isolated at work. As for me, I actually got married to Jonathan 2 years later and we're living very happily. Jonathan's proposal was, "Let's be together in your parents' graves." So he married into my family and took my surname. I am currently pregnant and will be blessed with a baby boy next month. I've already decided to get along well with my son's future wife. Those bags are for you and Dad to take. Get out of here, will you? I couldn't hide my shock at the sight of the bags piled up at the front door. Everything in them belonged to me and my husband, from clothes to daily necessities. What's going on? Why are you kicking us out of our own home? My hands trembled with anger at the sheer injustice. Seeing my reaction, my son and daughter-in-law smirked. We're taking over this house before Dad gets back from his business trip. Consider it our wedding gift. That's absurd. You can't do that. Well, you didn't give us any wedding money, so it's only fair. You're old anyway, why don't you go to a nursing home or something? Mia said, and Alex burst into laughter. Great idea! Off to the nursing home with you! They both jeered at the idea of sending us to a nursing home. I found the situation so ridiculous that I burst into laughter. They looked at me suspiciously, but I didn't care. Are you sure you won't regret this? Regret? We'll feel relieved. All right then, suit yourselves. I smiled at the bluffing Alex and Mia, grabbed my bags, and left the house. Ah, it feels so good without the nuisances. We got the house, too. This is awesome. I heard their jubilant voices from the other side of the front door. They have no idea what's coming for them. I dragged my carry-on bag away from the scene. My name is Laura. I've worked in caregiving for many years and retired at 70. I enjoy interacting with people, so even after retirement, I volunteer locally. My husband is also in his 70s and runs a small to medium-sized business. He's quite active for his age, often accompanying his employees on business trips. It seems that the company will be handed over when the successor grows up, so I would like to support husband's work until then. We have a son named Alex. He was a miracle baby for us, as we struggled with infertility for years. We raised him with love and care, and he used to be a well-behaved child. Alex had always been a good kid, the kind of son that made parents proud and neighbors talk. It's not like we spoiled him. We taught him the basics, what's wrong is wrong, and don't do things that annoy others. But when Alex hit high school, we realized there's only so much parents can do. He started hanging out with a local group of troubled teens, and his life began to spiral. The influence of friends can be greater than that of parents. Our once honest and straightforward son became rebellious, selfish, and self-centered. He barely graduated high school and went on to a local college, where he started demanding to live alone. We rented an apartment for him and supported his tuition and living expenses. We hoped college would give him a sense of urgency and a stepping stone to independence, but Alex barely attended classes and remained aimless even after barely graduating. Now, Alex is in his mid-40s. No job, no significant other. Is he going to be all right? These were my worries when I called him about coming home for the holidays. That's when everything started to unravel. Hello, who is this? The voice I heard after 6 months was clearly not Alex's. A woman's voice, cute but somewhat languid. Is this Alex's phone? Who are you? Who are you? I heard Alex's voice faintly in the background. Mia, who are you talking to? Alex, some unknown lady is calling. I don't know any older women. Who is it? Alex, now laughing, took the phone and his voice turned noticeably annoyed when he realized it was his mom. "What do you want, Mom?" "Why? You haven't shown your face in years. How about coming home for the holidays? Your dad misses you." In fact, my husband was really missing him. Probably more than me. He's always concerned about Alex's future and well-being. Maybe it's because they used to fight a lot during his teenage years. But Alex's response was cold. "Nah, coming home is a hassle. I'm staying here with Mia." "At least call your dad." Yeah, I get it." "So, the girl earlier, Mia? Are you dating her? Living together?" I couldn't help but ask about the woman I had just spoken to. Would a girlfriend really answer her boyfriend's phone without permission? Would she rudely address a stranger as you and speak without any courtesy? Honestly, it was pretty outrageous. But instead of answering, Alex just clicked his tongue in annoyance. "Ugh, so annoying. What did you say? You guys are always so annoying, always meddling in my business." Without a shout, he hung up the phone. I'd been yelled at during Alex's rebellious years, but I never thought he'd speak to me like that as an adult. I stood there, phone in hand, stunned. "I'm home. Did you talk to Alex?" That night, I told my husband about the rude woman who answered the phone and the harsh words from Alex. My husband looked serious but eventually said, "Well, he's working, even if it's temporary employment. Let's give him some space." Maybe my husband was right. I was shocked when Alex changed in high school, influenced by his surroundings. I've been anxious that he might be hanging out with the wrong crowd or dating someone questionable. Maybe my over-involvement was getting to him. I decided to consciously hold back on reaching out. A few months later, Alex contacted us. He said he'd found a decent job back home and would be returning soon. Despite everything, my husband and I were relieved. It's unsettling when your child is far away, and comforting when they return. But when Alex came home, he brought an unfamiliar woman with him. "This is Mia. We're getting married." My husband and I couldn't hide our surprise at the sudden marriage announcement. Especially since Alex was still a temporary worker. And Mia apparently wasn't working steadily either. Could they really get by without stable income? "Welcome, Mia." Wow, Alex's family home is so old-fashioned. Is the floor going to collapse? "How long have you two been dating?" "I don't remember." "Are you the type to worry about the details, old man?" Mia's answers to our questions were dismissive. Alex didn't correct her, he just laughed along. My husband and I exchanged a glance and shrugged in disappointment. This is bad. My husband's words sounded like he was pitying them. Despite our objections, Alex and Mia went ahead and registered their marriage. When we said we wanted to meet Mia's parents, she told us it wasn't necessary, denying us even a meeting of both families. Moreover, upon moving back to their hometown, Alex and Mia started living in a brand new apartment. "It's so different from the rundown place we were living in before," Alex said, clearly pleased. But with their unstable income, there's no way they could afford the rent for such a nice, new place. Sure enough, they started relying on our money. We decided to help with the rent, thinking they'd have expenses as newlyweds. But they also started coming over more often to eat, perhaps to save on groceries. Yet Mia's attitude remained the same. "What's with this side dish? It looks disgusting." "It's always been like this." "Lacks color or something," Alex chimed in. I was getting irritated. "If you don't like it, you don't have to eat it. You're the ones who keep showing up. I'm just cooking extra for you." Mia seemed unfazed and didn't take my words to heart. Influenced by her, Alex became increasingly rude to me and my husband, making us dread interacting with them. Then, suddenly, my husband had to go on a business trip. He had to spend several weeks in another region with a potential successor for the company. During that time, I'd have to deal with Alex and Mia alone. I'm really sorry to leave you alone at a time like this. It's fine. You're about to retire from being the boss anyway. And look, we have something to look forward to. True. It's just a matter of enduring until that's completed. Don't let those two get to you too much. We encouraged each other, and a few days later, I saw my husband off. After that, for some reason, Alex and Mia stopped coming over, and a brief period of peace was ensued. I was busy with my re-entry volunteer activities, so it was good not to have to deal with them. But one day, I came home to find Alex rummaging through my dresser, where I keep my banking cards. What are you doing? I turned on the lights and shouted. Alex tossed the banking card he was holding. Bad timing. You shouldn't have come back. Do you even realize what you're doing? We're family, so give me some money. We didn't even get a wedding gift from you. Alex lamented not receiving a wedding gift, but that's to be expected. After all, my husband and I still haven't accepted his marriage to Mia. We're already helping with their rent and providing meals. And now he's trying to steal his own parents' banking card? Unbelievable. I immediately kicked Alex out. I don't remember raising a child who would steal money from his parents. If you ever do this again, we're done. I hurled these strong words at him, and he left, clicking his tongue. I immediately called my husband to tell him what had happened. Even though we're family, the fact that Alex was trying to forcibly take money alarmed my husband. That Alex would do something like this. I warned him we'd cut ties if he does it again, but there's no guarantee he won't. Let's move the banking cards to a different location for now. I'll be back in a few days, and we can have a proper discussion then. All right, I'll be waiting. Only a few more days until my husband returns. I hid our valuables and braced myself for any surprise visits from Alex and Mia. But I never expected them to resort to such drastic measures. One day, when I returned from my re-entry volunteer activities, I found a truck parked in front of our house. Boxes and furniture were being carried in by movers. I rushed inside and found Alex and Mia. What are you doing? Mom. Sorry, but we've decided to take this house. Owning a home is an asset, right? So, it's better if we live here instead of you old folks. Mia said, laughing. I was too confused to comprehend what they were saying. Besides, Dad's still working at 70, right? Even now, he's on a business trip. I don't want to end up like that. Working hard is for suckers. While you guys are still healthy, we're taking what we can. Remarks that make a fool of her husband. Alex's words were a mockery of my husband, who has worked hard as a small and medium-sized business owner. I understand that it's been tough getting the business off the ground, but to me, this felt like an unbearable insult. Those are your belongings. Get out. Alex pointed to several bags packed at the entrance. I couldn't hide my shock. Everything from our clothes to daily necessities had been shoved into bags. Why should we have to leave the house we live in for you too? Faced with such unjust treatment, my hands trembled with anger. Seeing my reaction, the couple grinned. We're going to make this house ours before Dad gets back from his trip. Consider it a wedding gift. That's impossible! You didn't give us a wedding gift, so this is only fair. You're old. Why don't you go to a facility or something? When Mia said that, Alex joined in with a big laugh. That's a great idea. Old folks should go to a facility. As they chanted, urging me to go to a facility, something in me snapped. And I burst into laughter. The two of them looked at me suspiciously, but I didn't care. Are you sure about this? You won't regret kicking me out. Huh? We'll feel refreshed. All right then, suit yourselves. I smiled at the defiant Alex and Mia, grabbed my bags, and left the house. Ah, it feels so good without the nuisance. We got the house, too. This is awesome. I could hear their jubilant voices from the other side of the front door. They have no idea what's coming their way. Dragging my carry-on bag, I left the scene. A month later, I received a call from Alex, who knew I was now living with my husband who had returned from his business trip. Hello, Alex? What's going on? Mom, it's terrible. The house. What happened to the house? Alex's voice was clearly panicked. Even without asking, I could tell something urgent was happening. Actually, I already knew why Alex was in trouble. Did you know this house is going to be demolished? Oh, did I forget to mention that? My feigned ignorance was met with Mia's voice. What the hell, MIL? Did you set us up? You moved in without knowing anything. Besides, how could a house that you didn't inherit become your asset? Mia was still ranting, but I didn't care. The house they took from us was scheduled for demolition. Once my husband returned from his trip, we planned to tell Alex and move into our newly built one-story home. We had moved our banking cards to the new house the day Alex went snooping, so they were safe. I was planning to explain everything step by step, but Alex and Mia took that opportunity away from us. Listen, the contractors are already here, telling us to vacate. Where are you guys? Can you take us in for a bit? Well, you have that rental apartment, don't you? You were living there originally, so you can just go back. We thought we'd get the family home, so we already terminated the lease. I was utterly amazed at my own son's lack of crisis management skills. It seems Alex and Mia had prematurely terminated their apartment lease, thinking they could live in the family home and use the money I was paying for rent however they wanted. Only then did they find out the house was going to be demolished. But that's not our problem anymore. You guys better leave soon. If anyone other than the owner, my husband, is found living in a house scheduled for demolition, you could be charged with trespassing. Come on! We're family. Help us out. You're the ones who told your parents to go to a facility, right? I did as you wished, so figure out the rest yourselves. With that, I hung up the phone without waiting for a reply. After that, the demolition began, and the house my husband and I had lived in for years disappeared without a trace. I thought the situation might turn into a police matter if Alex and Mia didn't leave by the deadline, but it seems my worries were unfounded. Life was peaceful for a while, but the calls from Alex and Mia didn't stop. We even changed our phone numbers, but they managed to track us down through local volunteer connections. Their demands were, as always, about money. Alex and Mia, without stable jobs and now without a home, were living in company housing while working at a factory. Despite having a roof over their heads, they still wanted to live luxuriously on someone else's dime. If you don't give us money, we'll show up at your house. My husband and I became a bit concerned upon hearing this desperate threat. Only a handful of people know the location of our new home. My husband had just retired as the CEO and passed the reins to his successor, but he had told some people at the company about our new residence. I don't think our employees would leak information to someone like him. Maybe we should talk to them just in case. While we were discussing this, Alex and Mia showed up at my husband's company. The current CEO informed us about their visit. Did they cause any trouble at the workplace? We were quite concerned, but the current CEO assured us that wasn't the case. The employees had heard my husband complain about Alex and Mia before, and they were appalled by their actions towards us. So, when Alex and Mia showed up at the company, they were firmly turned away. They persistently demanded to know our whereabouts, but the CEO assured us he didn't reveal anything. He even told them off, asking how much more unfilial they could be, and chuckled as he told us. Alex and Mia left the company in frustration and haven't returned. The CEO promised to inform us and take legal action if they try any harassment, which we gratefully accepted. He assured us that the entire company intends to protect my husband and me. It's probably the result of goodwill my husband built up while running the company. And we made a decision. We're cutting ties with Alex and Mia. Wanting money so badly that they'd inconvenience not just their parents but also those around them. Exactly. I don't even feel sad about it anymore. Parents and children are separate individuals, even if they share the same blood. There's a limit to how many times you can forgive terrible behavior. What follows is something we heard through my husband's contacts. Alex and Mia are apparently working non-stop at the factory. They've angered the factory manager by slacking off and doing a sloppy job with assembling parts. It seems they're now paying the price for their previous laziness. Perhaps because of their busy lives, Alex and Mia are constantly fighting, causing complaints from their neighbors in the company housing. Saving money is difficult for them, as their hobbies include playing the lottery and smoking, both money-draining activities. The stress of not being able to save money despite working hard and having no one to rely on must be tough. But I can't bring myself to feel sorry for them. They've never worked a proper job, which is why they could shamelessly ask for money. I hope their factory jobs will lead them to change their ways, even a little. I still get occasional calls and emails from Alex. He writes things like he's sorry for what happened and wants to get along as a family. He seems to have changed a bit, but I still can't trust him. Only when they become self-reliant and considerate can we share a life together. As long as they're preoccupied with themselves, a fresh start will be difficult. Since retiring as CEO, my husband has taken up home gardening, something he's wanted to do since he was young. I assist him with his gardening while continuing my re-entry volunteer work in our new location. I had hoped to live peacefully with our son and daughter-in-law. Ideally, I would have wanted to live peacefully with our son and his wife. That wish may not have come true, but as long as I know they're alive and well somewhere, that's enough for me. The time I spend with my husband is more precious and warm than anything else. I intend to protect this invaluable happiness and lifestyle with all my might.